Welcome to the Musical Musings series of episodes. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary is practice, and senior musicians are extraordinary because of this reason. Learning and understanding the musical journey that the senior musicians have gone through. Not only journey, but also concert experiences, um, musical aspects that they loved the most, manodharma aspects that they loved, and the musical knowledge that they gained all these years. It always inspires and motivates the current and the future generation. The objective of this series is to uncover the person from the music. And as we all know, gurus have played a very big role in musicians' journey. While we understand the person behind the music, we also understand the people or the gurus that shaped musicians musically and personally. And one such senior musician belonging to a very rich school of music is Sri Balaji Jagannathan. It's a great privilege to have Balaji with us today. And in this episode, I would like to talk to him about his musical training, childhood memories, Patantarams, Bani, about his guru, his concert experiences, musical knowledge that he's blessed with, manodharma aspects, his students, and opinion about the future of Carnatic music, and much more. Let me invite Balaji now.
You see, the thing is, you have to accept that. Some people in the audience are always like that. They will cut their heads for anybody. So they can't be a criterion of what is good or what is bad in your playing. Okay. So, the second thing is there are artists, there are people in the audience who will just sit motionless without an expression on their face, regardless of whatever you achieve on stage. Stage, first class or combo but they're thoroughly assessing what they're capable of. I think that is the artist or that is the audience to which you have to put. There will already be the people who want pop numbers like semi-classical or movie part and all part, or actually songs from a particular language or from a particular composer, or only virithams and like that. But in that respect, I've always been a purist. I'm not saying that my attitude is right. I'm just saying that this is my attitude. I mean, a lot of people tend to tailor the kacheri men according to the audience. I think you should have your own standards of excellence. Okay. If you have got your standards of excellence, the confidence comes within. Okay. Your focus goes away from the music into getting endorsement from the audience. And endorsement from the audience is a very fickle thing. Recognition is a very fickle thing. The people who praise you today, they may damn you tomorrow. They'll praise somebody else who you less worthy. I mean, so praise is worth going after. You should have your own standard. And further, there is no shortage these days. You've got a plethora of performances on YouTube. You can have, can have different Vidwans singing different padandarams. You can choose one, select one, and say that I'm going to sing exactly like this, and I'm going to aspire to this. I don't think the attitude or size of the audience makes a big difference. I mean, if the audience enjoys it, then good. If the audience doesn't enjoy it, you think you have done your best, and you recognize the part of the learning process, and you have that element of humility in you. I think things should mind. Because you're not giving a concert today and disappearing tomorrow. You're going to give a concert today, a concert next month. There will be a series of concerts. So one builds upon the other. I would say that.
இப்போ audience tend to vibes கிடைக்கலனா what do you do?
You can ask organizers, what sort of songs would they like? ஒரு துக்கடா வேணுமா இல்ல ஒரு தில்லான வேணுமா திருப்புகழ் வேணுமா இல்ல you want me to sing something else? You can always give your இது அப்படின்னு. But you see, sometimes regardless of what you sing, the audience will mood. So like I said, for that you need to have your own standards of excellent performance. You cannot I mean in the long run you cannot build a musical career based on someone else's expectations.
Correct.
And that translates onto the concert stage well.
இப்ப சொன்னதுனால எனக்கு கேட்கணும்னு தோணிது. ஆலாபனா பாடுறது, you think it should be relevant to the composition?
எது பாடுறது?
Any ஆலாபனா, any ராக ஆலாபனா நம்ம பாடுறது.
Yes, very much. Very much. It should be done to the composition. இப்போ நான் வந்து ப்ரோ பாட போறேன்னு you cannot sing a 20 ஆலாபனா.
Exactly.
Certain songs have got ஆமா இப்போ பாருமாக்கு நீங்க ராகம் பாடலாம். Yes, keep it to what 3 or 4 minutes and take it from there. But if you're going to sing something like இப்போ இதுலயே தோடி தாஷை பாடுனீங்க or ஜெயசீதா அது மாதிரி பாடுங்க, அந்த தோடி வந்து அதுக்கு ராகத்துக்கு தந்தாப்புல இருக்கணும். One point I don't know if it's relevant or not to this discussion is that நம்ம ராகத்துல கூட that the element of layam. Layam is not restricted to your song, your kalpanas and all that. Raga has also got an element of layam. They mean proportion. வந்து ஒரு proportion இருக்கணும் between high speed and the low speed and things like pitchery. I don't know whether to use that layam is or not, but the question of proportion is much there. Yes.
Pallavi, what do you prefer? ரொம்ப காம்ப்ளெக்ஸ் தாளா இல்ல பாவபூர்வமா இருக்கிற சிம்பிள் தாளா பல்லவி?
My preference is the second one. See, the complex style இருந்ததுனாக்க you are not engaging the audience. You are showing off your prowess and your virtuosity and your expertise, which perhaps the audience doesn't know. You are sending out a message. நான் பாக்க உன்னால பாட முடியுமா? then you கேள்வி கேட்கறாப்ல ஆயிடுது. Which should not be the case. Complex pallavi பாடி, what are you going to accomplish? It is good for your for your development as a musician, so that you can learn less complex pallavis. But a pallavi which is relatively simple, but which has got a lot of bhavam and which compresses the maximum devotional meaning into the fewest possible words, I would definitely prefer that any day. And I think that's what the audience would also like. I think we sang that Latangi pallavi a long time ago. I think it went like that.
Yeah.
I still remember that because of its beauty and its innate simplicity. There have been lots of parties after that, but this thing I definitely remember.
Oh, thank you.
I think it was maybe in 15 years ago. But I still remember because like it sticks in the mind. The sheer beauty of pallavi. It's simple and nanna irukke,
It was very simple.
It's in a very attractive room as well. So
thank you. அப்புறம் வந்து கணக்கு சர்வலகு, which one do you really relish?
Again, I mean, I have a simplistic bent of mind, and to be very honest, Kanakaswaram was not something that my guru taught, and it's not something on which I have placed if shall we say emphasis in learning process. So I prefer Sargu. Yes, I mean it is very analogous to the fact that playing a varnam in first column is more difficult than playing it in Munangalam. Playing a varnam in the third speed is relatively easy. Playing it in the first speed is very difficult.
Correct.
So I think there's a popular perception. You're ரொம்ப fast. நிறைய கணக்கு போட்டிருக்கான், so he's necessarily more advanced or he's necessarily more evolved.
I know.
That could be the case. That is not always the case.
Correct. Rare composers உங்களுக்கு யாரை ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும்?
எனக்கு வந்து கோட்டேஸ்வர ஐயர் தான் பிடிக்கும். My favorite is கோட்டேஸ்வர ஐயர். I wouldn't say he's a rare composer.
No, he's not.
He's
Obviously,
definitely not of the Trinity, and he's not a mainstream composer.
correct. But you like him.
அது தவிர்த்து இப்போ இந்த மாடர்ன் வந்து அந்த ஸ்பென்சர் வேணுபால் இருக்கார். He has composed some fairly attractive compositions. So
you like it. What is your opinion on Ariyakudi format? அதை மாத்தக்கூடாதுன்றது மாத்தலாமா மாத்தக்கூடாதா அதை பத்தி உங்களோட ஒப்பீனியன் என்ன?
I mean, I confess that it is a very humble opinion from my side because not so great as to pass an opinion on the master. Okay, but again, I mean, I'm entitled to opinion.
Yes.
You see, I'm not a big fan of the Kacheri format. Kacheri format, your the devotional aspect of the music to a large extent is compromised. இப்போ நம்ம ஆரம்பிக்கிறோம் வர்ண தொடங்குறோம் அப்புறம் பிள்ளையார் போய் பாட்டு பாடுறோம் and then you sing some goddess Saraswati and then you cross on there. Yes, but you should also remember that large portion of our music, Carnatic music, or the entire portion of it has got very strong devotional moorings. So you should sing in such a way that the devotion is also brought up, that which MS Lakshmi was very good at doing. But I don't think the performers thereafter, before or after her, have done that. So in the Kacheri format, I think the format by itself, nothing wrong with it, but you don't have to start out with the Varnam at all. You just start out with the invocation song for Lord Ganapati, and you get it from there. The other thing is the question of warming up is there. You have to let the audience warm up to the piece, which is your Agamdanam Pallavi or your main or your sub-main, whatever. So for that, you have to sing a few introductory pieces. So for that, the Kach format is good. But again, said I'm not a big fan of the Kach format as such. You should be able to take one ragam and able to elaborate it, say for 1.5 hours. That I would say is a true Kacheri. Yes.
கும்பித கமகம்னு சொல்றோம். அதாவது இந்த உம்மிலேயே பாடுறது நம்ம நிறைய டைம் பாடுவோம். அப்படிலாம் நம்ம பாடுறோம், ரைட்? சோ இந்த கமகம் எல்லாம் இட் இஸ் பீன் மென்ஷன்ட் அண்ட் இருக்கு. பட் இதே நீங்க ஃபுல் அகாரமா பாடுறப்போ கஷ்டம்னு தோணுதா உங்களுக்கு? But the thing is,
it is definitely not difficult. No.
What I mean is,
it's definitely not difficult.
What I mean is, இப்ப இந்த கமகம் பாடினாதான், இந்த மாதிரி கமகம் பாடினாதான் கர்நாடகமா இருக்குங்கிறது ஒரு இமேஜ். இதே நீங்க அப்படி நம்ம பாடுறதுக்கும் அதுல அந்த இப்ப நான் சொன்ன மாதிரி அந்த கமகம் பாடுறப்போ அகாரமாவே ஃபுல்லி அகாரமாவே இருக்கிறத விட இந்த கும்பீத கமகம் அதெல்லாம் போட்டு பாடுறது ரொம்ப கர்நாடகமா கேட்கறதுக்கு இருக்குங்கிறது ஒரு அபிப்பிராயம் இருக்கு. Do you agree to that?
ஆமா.
You do agree?
Yes, definitely.
But don't you think the akaram is difficult?
But again, it should be used very judiciously and in the right proportions. So அது பண்ணாங்கன்னா it gives you a sense of it is the audience with the effort that you're putting in. See,
is it?
On a violin, we usually do it by playing it on 2 or 3 strings. But the Vashikatkalam, you need a lot of practice and a lot of guidance as well.
Okay. இப்ப நீங்க நிறைய ஹிந்துஸ்தானி மியூசிக் you've listened, இல்லையா? நிறையவே நீங்க ஹிந்துஸ்தானி மியூசிக் கேட்டிருக்கீங்க. You got a very good knowledge in ஹிந்துஸ்தானி மியூசிக். அது எப்படி உங்களுக்கு இன்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸ் பண்ணிருக்கு உங்களோட ஸ்டைல்ல, உங்களோட வயலின் டெக்னிக்ஸ் அண்ட் ஸ்டைல்ல ஹிந்துஸ்தானி மியூசிக் எப்படி இன்ஃப்ளூயன்ஸ் பண்ணிருக்கு?
See, the thing with Hindustani music is the techniques that you observe there, you can apply it only to Hindustani ragams. That's one thing. But there are, everyone knows that there are certain Hindustani ragams which are their counterparts in Carnatic as well. Madhuvanti Dharmavati irukku, or Darbari and Darbari Karnataka. Hindustani music la the only difference is they tend to dwell a lot on notes. and they tend to dwell a lot on the notes that typically we wouldn't do. So Madhuvanti padrona, I can give you a small example. Sa 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 ga sa ni sa ga ma pa ni da ma pa அப்படின்னு they will sing. நம்ம தர்மாவதி பண்ணுக்க அந்த மாதிரி பாடி முடிச்சுடுவோம். So நம்ம வந்து we can use their techniques when you are singing a ragam. You cannot use it in for ragam. Sari gama vaashikar bodu sari gama gari sad paanningana you can use it at the start of ragam and at certain points. Ipo idu vaashikar, for example, you can play that what is the you can play a bit of plus. Sa ni da pa ma ga ri ga ma pa pa da pa ma ga ma ga ri ga ri. அது வாஷம் வின்ஸ் இன் பீம் பிளஸ் பாம்பேரியில் அந்த பிரயோகம் கிடையாது. பட் ஒரு தடவை வாசிங்கன்னாக்கா இட் டெஃபினெட்லி ஆட்ஸ் டு தி லஸ்டர் டு தி குவாலிட்டி ஆஃப் தி தி தபனா. So அதுதான் ஃபார் ஸ்லோ பேசேஜஸ் ஐ வுட் ரெக்கமெண்ட் யூஸ் Hindani techniques. Don't overuse them, but just show that that this raga is from there, and then you can take it on from there.
அப்புறம் நீங்க வாசிக்கிறப்போ வால்யூம் கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணி சிச்சுவேஷன் இருக்கா? பண்ணுவேளா? and when do you do that?
Volume control பண்றது it takes place on two occasions. One is when the voice says that your violin is loud, please reduce. So that of course there's a technical. ஆனா நம்ம வாசிச்சுட்டே இருக்கச்ச you can control it by reducing or increasing pressure on your bow. Bowல வந்து நம்ம கொஞ்சம் pressure கொடுத்தோம்னாக்க it will loud sound. கொஞ்சம் கஷ்டம் pressure பண்ணாக்க it gives, but again the amount of pressure you give has to be you have to judge it very carefully. ரொம்ப ஜாஸ்தி pressure கொடுத்தோம்னா it will have grating sound as though you are putting as though you are sawing wood. But the answer to your question is that yes, this is the way by which we control the volume. And the thing which I never compromise on, or I never let my students compromise on, is the pressure on the fingering. Left hand la vanda and the pressure on the you control the volume with your bowing, not with your fingering. Because the more pressure you put on your fingers, the better the quality sound is.
இப்போ வந்து கல்பித
there are a lot of violinists, established violinists do that very technique of it. So instead of putting the gamagam, just tap the string. அது எங்க குரு நுனி நாக்குல இருந்து பப்பல ஒரு சங்கதி வரும் அப்படிம்பா. That should not be case. Your nabi hirtasana, the voice should come from within. So the way of bringing it out on the violin have more pressure on the rest, which is very built in the lower octaves because the strings are thick. But I'm going into the technical details now. So
கல்பித சங்கீதம் அதுக்கு நீங்க பார்த்தீங்கன்னா டிஃபரெண்ட் பாணிஸ் இருக்கு, ரைட்? இப்போ ஓரங்க சாயியே எத்தனையோ பேர் வேற விதமா கத்துக்கலாம். ஓரங்க சாயிக்கே நிறைய ஒரு மல்டிபிள் வெர்ஷன்ஸ் இருக்கலாம். So as a violinist நீங்க எல்லா காம்போசிஷன்ஸும் நீங்க கத்துக்கணுமா? அண்ட் எல்லா காம்போசிஷன்ஸோட சங்கதிகளும் ஒரே மாதிரி இருக்காது. அப்ப அந்த மாதிரி நேரத்துல நீங்க என்ன பண்றீங்க? What do you do?
I think what you do is you listen initially. I mean, again, it's a 2 or 3 step process. You listen initially to different schools, and you pick out the school that you like best and which is within your sphere of achievement. Suppose you're just starting out, or you're at a fairly low level in your music evolution. You should not take a very established artist. இப்போ வீணை இப்பதான் வாசிக்க ஆரம்பிச்சுட்டு இருக்கோம், மொத்த பாட்டு வாசிக்கணும்னா should not try to be like Chitti Baba or Mysore Damayangar. அது வராது. It comes only with practice. But the answer to your question would be that listen to 4 or 5 different versions, settle on one version, play that again and again, practice again and again, be thorough with it. Once you are confident with it, you will know how to give the other stage. இப்போ ஓரங்க ஷைய சொன்னாப்ல ஒரு சங்கதி இன்னொருத்தர் வந்து வேற தினசா பாடானாக்கா எஸ் பட் யூ லேர்ன் த MS style first, that's the standard version, then you go on to the versions, and you should try only the versions which are capable of. Some people could have developed a sangati after long years of practice. Adana kettu na வந்து imitate ringadna mudiyadu. That is me.
இப்போ vocalist ஒரு காம்போசிஷனை பாடுறப்போ ஓகே அந்த காம்போசிஷன் உங்களுக்கு கேள்வியே பட்டது இல்லைன்னா how do you support?
You're talking about as an accompanist.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. See, as an accompanist, it is not difficult to provide the ragam. Okay. I mean, I have seen people where who play a ragam which think the vocalist should have sung what the vocalist is singing. Vocalist on Sunadevani Padantrapa and this will be playing Hamsanandi. That thing will be the case. So if you know the ragam, accompanying is not very good. The other thing is you don't to give support to comma and full stop the song. அவ எங்க நிறுத்துறாளோ அந்த இடத்துல இப்போ காந்தாரத்துல நிறுத்தினா இந்த இடத்துல நாமளும் give support over the ஷட்ஜத்துல நிறுத்துறா, make sure your ஷட்ஜம் accurate. If your swarasthanas are accurate, 90% of the work is done for a company. ஸ்வரஸ்தானம் சரியா இருக்கு, சுத்தியா இருக்கு அப்படின்னாக்க அவ மேல பாட கூட நம்ம கீழே வாசி we can actually compliment their singing. That's again one of the I've been telling mentions. Just because somebody is singing in male style, sorry.
So அப்போ வந்து நீங்க பாத்தீங்கன்னா அதே ஓரங்க சாயியே நான் ஒரு விதமா பாடலாம், வேற ஒருத்தர் வேற விதமா பாடலாம். இந்த சென்ஸ் என்னோட சங்கதி மாதிரி தான் இன்னொருத்தரோட சங்கதி இருக்கணும்னு இல்ல. அப்ப எனக்கு நீங்க எனக்கு அக்காம்பனி பண்றப்போ இன்னொருத்தருக்கு அக்காம்பனி பண்றப்போ how do you manage? இப்ப அடுத்தது நான் இந்த சங்கதி தான் பாட போறேன்னு உங்களுக்கு தெரியாதே. அப்படி இருக்கிறப்ப how do you handle?
தெரியாது. See, normally you sing sangati 2 times, isn't it?
Yeah.
So முதல் சமயம் பாடுறது you get 60 to 70% of what is going to be the next time. That is one thing. The second thing is dance in sangati is எப்படினாக்கா the first time you accompany, you just apply the principle that I said. Your raham theriyana, your swarasthanam should be okay, and you should play basically on the same length, because as an accompanist, flexion you are protected. The main singer part the audience doesn't expect you follow her like a shadow, follow her or his shadow. பின்னாடி வந்து ஒரு வயந்த அக்கம்பெனிமெண்ட் இருக்கு, அது தெரியானா அபஸ்வரமா இருக்க கூடாது, கச்சிதமா இருக்கணும். If these things are there, the first time you can accompany sangati, first time வச்சிட்டு செகண்ட் டைம் வந்து ஒரு 70 அக்கம்பெனி பண்ணிடலாம். It's not difficult.
ஒரு ஆலாபன பாடுறப்போ, ஆலாபன ஃப்ரேஸ் பாடுறப்போ நீங்க டக்குன்னு நீங்க ஸ்வரத்துக்கு டிரான்ஸ்லேட் பண்ணிப்பீங்களா?
ஆமா, that process is automatic, because you listen to an alapana, the violinist does not listen to your sangati. He listens to a series of swarams. Now again, that is very easy when singing a slow sangati. இப்போ காப்பி ராகங்க பாடுங்க சாரே மாப்பா அங்க நீங்க நெருங்கனக்கா மாப்பா நீ அப்பா கிளியரா இருக்கு. ஓகே, அந்த மாதிரி பாடுனீங்கன்னாக்கா, unless the violinist has got sufficient experience and he knows how to copy, he cannot accompany. அதுலயும் இப்போ நீங்க பிருகா தான் போட்டாக்க, பிருகா has to come at the right place. So all nuances have to be reproduced. That takes a fair amount of effort. Again, that is one thing I struggled in teaching students. You should not just listen to the song, you should listen to sahityam, and you should listen to sahityam as a series of notes.
ஒரு ஸ்ருதிக்கும் இப்போ நான் வந்து 5ல பாடுறேன், இன்னொருத்தர் வேற ஒரு வோக்கலிஸ்ட் வேற ஒரு ஸ்ருதியில பாடுவா. இப்போ ஒரு ஸ்ருதிக்கும் மனோதர்மம்ன்ற ஆஸ்பெக்ட் பார்த்தேன்னா டிஃபர்ஸ் ஆக்டேவ் படி உங்களுக்கு டிஃபர் ஆகுமா from the octave point of view?
No. The manodharmam is the same regardless of the shruti.
Okay. கீழ நீங்க வாசிக்கிறப்போ
again you have to bear in mind one thing that இப்போ higher shruti irka anything say above 5.5 5.5 okay g sharp pochunaka the violin tends to become screechy at the higher notes.
கரெக்ட், அதுக்கு தான் கேக்குறேன்.
Nisa re ga ma ka and the clarity not be there. It will sound like nisa re ga ma ka அப்படினு. So you have to be very careful. Higher octaves lo you should play only at the for higher shruti the generally you play in lower octave. Ninga ipo MS Subbulakshmi concerts la kuda patheenganaka Saroja Dalnetri padirka the violinist has also responded very beautifully. Ellam but lower octaves da. She has sung in the higher octaves, he has played completely lower octaves, but it is very beautiful. For some reason I can't get that recording, but I think everybody should listen to it.
So அந்த மாதிரி டிஃபரண்ட் ஸ்ருதி இருக்கிறப்போ are you able to உங்களுக்கு மனோதர்மத்துல அந்த ஒரு ப்ராப்ளம் வந்தது இல்ல? 5 ஸ்ருதி அப்புறம் A
No, manodharma problem. The problem comes when because in higher shrutis the tension of the strings is higher, and to get a decent sound of the violin is difficult, and then you've got the influence of the mic also. Adala on the manodharma as such there is no, it doesn't have any impact on the manodharma.
So violin அந்த ரேஞ்ச் என்ன?
No, it depends on the strings that you put. You get different string gauges. This is called the thickness is called the string gauge. இப்போ ஒரு கட்டையில இருந்து ஒரு கட்டைக்கு வாசிக்கிறனா ஒரு string gauge கிடைக்கும். அதே மாதிரி மூணுல இருந்து வந்து ஒரு கட் இது. For 5 and above, you got another gauge. So every time you'll have to keep on changing the strings, or you need to have 2 or 3 different violins to suit the performance. Again, there's a trade-off. At the lower gauges, the strings are thick, so your finger pressure has more, but the sound is very resonant. Higher pitch la the sound is very attractive, but you cannot play for a very long at octave. And the strings are not thick, so it's fine. I mean, even with a relatively mild pressure, you can achieve the same result.
Personal question. இப்ப நான் ரொம்ப ஹை ஸ்பீட்ல ஸ்வரம் பாடுறேன், கல்பனை ஸ்வரம் பாடுறேன், அன்னைக்கு உங்களுக்கு மூடு சரியில்லை. ஓகே, சோ நீங்களும் ஹை ஸ்பீட்ல தான் நீங்க வந்து you have to respond.
Yes.
அப்ப எப்படி உங்களுடைய மைண்ட் மாத்திக்கிறீங்க?
No, mind மாத்திக்க தேவையில்லை. See, once you are committed to putting the artist on stage, you are fully committed. That's it. So whether the artist sings or fast, you are in that mental groove that whatever the artists நானும் அதுக்கு தப்பு நான் சப்போர்ட் பண்ணி ஆகணும். So there's no question of changing your mind or altering your way of thinking. No, it's all done for. I mean, if you are proper accompanist, that's what it should be. The problem comes when you are singing at a very high speed in a complicated ragam or with a complicated adam. நான் முக்க இடம் விட்டு எடுக்கிறேன் அந்த மாதிரி பண்ணி காமிக்கிறக்க for a violinist very difficult, because a violinist has to practice by himself or herself, and without talam support, when you are practicing, it's very difficult to have a command on layam. This is பாடுறவாள கஷ்டம் கிடையாது, ஸ்டைலே உங்களுக்கு தாளம் இருக்கு. வயலின்ல வந்து your attention is focused on a number of different things. bow pressure சரியா இருக்கணும், bow positioning சரியா இருக்கணும், your posture should be okay. On top of that, what you're playing, it should support the artist. There should be no abyss for the audience should be listening to it. A lot of things are passing through your mind at time. That is difficulty. But if you're at a high speed, the only difficulty would be in sticking to the ragam, if it is a complex ragam, or sticking to the கணக்கு.
மத்தியம ஸ்ருதி பாட்டும் போதெல்லாம் நீங்க எப்படி அத what do you do?
மத்தியம ஸ்ருதி, that is a tricky question. சில மத்தியம வந்து play on the same சாப்பாசா வச்சுண்டு. The only thing is you have to change your way of thinking. குந்தலவராணி எடுத்துக்கோங்க.
ஓகே,
குந்தலவரில மத்தியமத்துல வாசிக்க தேவையில்லை. அது கிளீனா வந்துடும். பட் யமுனா கல்யாணி கிருஷ்ணா இருக்கு இல்லையா, you can interpret it in two ways on the violin.
Uh-huh.
Sa ga ri sa ni ri sa ni da ni ri ma ri sa அப்படி பாடலாம். or ma da pa ma ga pa ma re ga pa sa ni da pa ma. இந்த ரெண்டாவது இங்க ரெடியா வச்சு நோட்டேங்கனாக்கா in your mind. I think your father was adept in doing that because he could play the harmonium at any Shruti for any ragam. I remember him telling. But that facility, mental facility, not everybody is fortunate to have. யமனாக்கே ஈஸியா வாசிச்சுடலாம். மா மா நீ சைத க மா மா அந்த மாலே வாசிச்சுட்டு இருக்கணும். அதர்வைஸ் we take the easy way out. Violin சுத்திய வந்து சாமான் விடுவோம். We just sit down on stage and read the violin. The peg மாத்தி it will take a couple of minutes. This is a challenge.
That was my next question. But Dvimadhyama ராகமா இருந்ததுன்னா என்ன பண்ணுவீங்க?
Dvimadhyama ராகம்னா இது ஸ்ட்ரிங்ஸ் எல்லாம் சேஞ்ச் பண்ண மாட்டோம். You just play Dvimadhyamam. Provided artist also sings Dvimam. Ipo, I gave the example of Lalit. Yeah. Lalit is basically Shubhandi starting with Madhyamat. Yeah. There are certain differences.
Yeah.
Ipo sa pa sa sa re ga ma 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 ma. That ma becomes your sa ni sa ga ma pa ma ma pa da ni. See that dichotomy is there. So if the vocalist is singing sani da ma ma ga அந்த மாதிரி பாடினானக்கா இருக்கும். If he sing magari sani da அப்படி பாடினானக்கா then it is difficult because sani naka you just sani. But if he say maga, you have to translate that into sani and then you have to play it. So Dvimadhyama ragams generally the way I think Escalana was a pioneer in that. அவர் பாடுற Dvimadhyamam நீங்க இது செக் பண்ண வேண்டாம். I think in Deepali he has sung Meera Bhajan.
Meera Bhajan.
Hariguna Gawat Nachungi. So Hariguna Madani da mani da ma ga gari ga ma gari sa ni da ni sa ni da pa. But he sings it as gari ga ma gari sa. So the accompanist also has an easy time,
Some artists didn't like to support female musicians in the past.
It is related to another question that you asked me earlier about manodharma on difficulties. See, the thing is, violin, you have to remember, the more you keep changing your strings, the more you are tampering the tone of the violin. And setting the tone of the violin is not easy because you have to arrange the bridge, sound post. எல்லாம் ஒருதற்கு சரியா வந்துடுத்துனாக்கா அப்புறம் நீங்க ஸ்ட்ரிங் மாத்தினீங்கன்னாக்க you are changing the the entire timbre instrument, and many artists didn't like that. இப்போ female artists வாசிக்கணும்னா 5 கட்டை 5 கட்டை அந்த அதெல்லாம் male artists would sing at 1.5 2. And their excuse was that if you keep changing our strings, the strings are high tension and the tone of the violin is lost. So we cannot accompany female artists. Now, how valid this explanation or this excuse was, only history will tell. Like I cannot. But I don't think there is any reason for not. My response would be, why not have two violins? On high C go, on low C go. I mean,
Exactly.
You can always play on two different violins, which many of these Vidwans had multiple violins.
That's true.
And the second thing is, I think there were some still more that I've heard people saying that in traditional Brahmin families or even in other communities, used to say in Pondati consider Padra, but she's being surrounded by 3 men. How can I allow this? One the mridangist, one's the tambourist, one is the violinist. How can I allow this? But these are all relics from the past. But the most charitable explanation I have is that what they used to give, say that the tension of the string, giving some technical reasons.
Yeah.
But I'm about to say that your MS Gopalakrishnan only, he actually accompanied MS Subbalakshmi, he accompanied ML Vasamari at a time when no other senior artists would accompany them. The Sarojit Alnetrik, our MS Vachirka. And he has also told me in person, ML Vasamari used to come to his house and they used to practice together.
And Grahabhedathukku edavadhu, how do you do it? கிரகபேதத்துக்கு நீங்க என்ன பண்றீங்க வயலின்ல?
as a violinist ஒன்றும் பண்றது இல்லை.
ஒண்ணும் பண்றது
See, கிராபேதத்துல வந்து உங்களுக்கு you have to pay attention to the position of sa pa sa, அவ்வளவுதான். இப்போ மோகனத்துல நம்ம கிரகபேதம் பண்ண சரி க பத சரி, and somebody could be singing சரி மா பா நீ சா. I don't know, really ஆரம்பிச்சா what do you get in மோகன்? ரே க பத சரி சரி மா பா நீ சா சா நீ பா மா சா. They could be singing Madhyamavati, starting with. As a violin, you don't have to make any change. But அவ மத்தியமா பாடுறான்னு தெரிஞ்ச உடனே அந்த ரீ தால தான் நம்ம இருக்கணும். ரீ த ரீ த, not சா பா சா. அவ ரீ த ரீ பண்ணுவோம், நம்ம சா பா சா பண்ணோம்னா the grabedam effect is lost. So I think the sa pa sa position is important. அவ்வளவுதான். But the other thing is to say that grabedத்துல வந்து to bring the raga swarupam on a violin is very difficult. You cannot just the notes and hope that you'll take it for whatever it is. Riga pa sa ri da da ga ri, riga pa sa ri ga ri da pa ga ri ga. அது மாதிரி நம்ம you cannot get away with it. You have to show that Madhyamavati exists. Riga pa sa ri sa ri ma ni sa ni ma ri ri sa sa ri ma ri sa ni pa ni sa ri. அது வராப்புல நம்ம அந்த மோகனத்தை வாசிக்கணும். That is a challenge because you are giving gamagam to notes which you would otherwise give gamagam to.
நிறைய சப் ஃபார்ம்ஸ் நம்மளதுலயே இருக்கு. அதாவது
சாரி
வர்ணம் இருக்கு, அப்புறம் கீர்த்தனம் இருக்கு, இது ராகம், தானம், பல்லவி, கல்பனஸ்வரம், தில்லானா, விருத்தம், ஸ்லோகம், அப்புறம் நம்ம கடைசியா பாடுறது. இத்தனையில எது உங்களுக்கு ரொம்ப பிடிக்கும்?
எனக்கு வந்து my first choice would be one of the classical keys. Kritis naka, not like Bantu Kolu or one of the easier ones, but Orangai, Sri Satyanarayana.
SMC பத்தி இப்ப இந்த லாஸ்ட் ஒரு 40 இயர்ஸ்ல நீங்க என்ன அப்சர்வ் பண்ணிருக்கீங்க? And அதோட ஃபியூச்சர் என்ன அப்படிங்கிறது what do you think?
You see, I came into the picture when SMC was already 10 to 15 years old. Okay, so but in the last 25 years or so, I think we have plateaued out. We have not. We are restricted by our own charter. We say that we want to promote only local artists from within Sydney. So local artists get a chance to participate on stage, even though it's not as frequent as many of them would like. That's unfortunate. But there is also this annual Tyagaraja Aradhana where children, irrespective of their age or their achievements, they're also invited to sing either in groups or singly.
Yeah.
So the achievement the SMC has been to keep the tradition of Carnatic music alive. I think that's about it. It has plateaued and it is going to stay there because the corpus of Carnatic musicians who can actually perform on stage, it has remained stagnant for a very long time, and actually it is raising because of the demographics. Okay. There are a lot of youngsters, yes, but most of them, I won't say all, most of them have competing pressures and family commitments. In the older generation, people that came with qualifications in music and who had given a lot of concerts and all that. So nowadays the enthusiasm is there, is definitely there. And the SMC is in its own small way trying to keep it alive. And given the the small reach of the audience for Carnatic music as such, there is only so much can do. This is a problem faced even by sabas in Chennai. As you will know, not all sabas, even if they are presenting top musicians, they can't be assured a full house always. And it is more pronounced in Sydney and Kesa with the demographic change where the younger generation has a lot more commitments, and they've got a lot more expectations from others, and they've got a lot more avenues where to channelize their interests. You've got the internet and you've got special interest groups, things like that. Minadi idella onnu irukalla. So I think to the extent that SMC has been able to preserve the tradition, I think that itself is an achievement under the circumstances.
Carnatic music is only about bhakti. அப்படிங்கிற ஸ்டேட்மெண்ட்டுக்கு உங்களோட வியூ என்ன?
No, I didn't say it is only about bhakti. I said it's largely about bhakti.
No. அந்த மாதிரி ஒரு ஒப்பீனியன்
எந்த பாட்டு எடுங்களா? I mean, you can take the music of the Trinity. Okay, that's all based on bhakti only. You can take any other. I mean, you can pick any from the cause of later decisions, and it's all about the. இப்போ துளசி வனம் பாடிருக்காருனாக்க it's all about na, or Spencer Venugopal பாடிருக்காருனாக்க it is, it's about one god or the other. Lalgudi Jarama composed so many tilanas. They're all in praise of God. So that devotional element is there, all of them.
மியூசிக்கல் ஃப்ரீடம் அப்படிங்கறது நீங்க உங்களோட டெஃபினிஷன் எவ்வளவு தூரம் அந்த ஃப்ரீடம் எக்ஸ்டெண்ட் பண்ணலாம்?
You see, musical freedom is I don't know, it's a very vague term, and it's capable of different interpretations depending on the bias of whoever is expounding on it. Okay, but what after all is freedom? Freedom is, I think, freedom when you have discipline. Okay, when you have discipline, you necessarily have freedom. If you don't have any discipline, there's no kind of freedom. You're free to do as you like, but that's about it. Your what shall I say? Your mental faculties and advancement is retarded. I mean, that's when hippie and freedom he'll say, man, I am free. But what are you free to do? You're free to smoke pot and do whatever. Carnatic music freedom, I think within the bounds of tradition, that's in the raha or in the tala or in the composition panirka appadinaka, you should be able to improvise on it without sacrificing the basic structure. I was attending a Harikatha by or a lectum by Mysore Seshagopal a few years ago, and he said the same question was put to him, and he replied with an analogy. He said 60 years ago, ஒரு பொண்ணு கல்யாணம் பண்ணனா அப்புறம் ஒரு மாப்பிள்ளை பாக்குறீங்கன்னாக்க மாப்பிள்ளை எப்படி இருக்காருன்னு கேட்டாக்க ஜம்மு தலையில குடுமி வச்சுட்டு காதுல கடுக்கன் இருக்கு and ஆஜான் பாகுவா இருக்கார், and he works in the law court as a clerk. He has got a steady income. 6 years later, if you tell a girl now that this is what the maplai looks like, do you think that fellow will get married? No. But his basic duties are there, that he provide for a family, he take care of the elders, he should be of service to the community. Those things are not sacrificed. So I would apply the same analogy to Carnatic music as, yes, ellam pannungo, but there should be no change for the sake of change. I mean, everything new is not good and everything that is old is not bad. Things have been passed down from generation to generation for a reason, and we should also have humility to accept that we are merely the custodians of a tradition that has been passed on to us for passing on to the future generations. We have no right to rewrite the dictionary.
Beautiful.
That freedom is not there for us.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Criticism எப்படி நீங்க ஹேண்டில் பண்றீங்க பாலாஜி?
See, criticism, again, this different people handle it in different ways, but I have got a very simple yardstick for finding out what is per criticism. First of all, criticism should not be made for the sake of criticism. இப்போ நிறைய பேர் அப்புறம் ஆமா நீங்க பாடினீங்க ஆனா அந்த அபூர்வஸ்வரம் தப்பு அப்படின்பா. Okay, they'll say this in the presence of a few people, so everyone knows, okay, this person something about music. So that is the intention that critics is. Some people will come to you gently and say, yes, what you sang was very good, but I improved in these things. So in the next kacheri, can you please attend to these? That's also good. And some people, unfounded criticism like pronunciation. The normal criticism is, you don't know how to pronounce this particular language. Okay, or inga padachedam pandrathu seriya illa appadinba. Yes. My thing is, the criticism, so long as it is born out of a knowledge of music and it is specific, it should be taken in the right spirit and people should attend to it. You cannot just go to a person and say your pronunciation was bad, because I've had people coming and saying that to my students, your pronunciation was bad. And then when I go and ask those people, okay, you tell me exactly where the pronunciation was bad so that I can remedy it, they have no answer. They say, no, it needs improvement. I mean, everything needs improvement in that sense. So criticism, yes, that is one thing. And the other thing is criticism of young children. That one be very, very careful. because we are into criticism, we have taken hard knocks and all that. Children are very sensitive. Not go and criticize them unnecessarily, very harshly. At the same time, we should not put them on a pedestal. Unfortunately, the latter tendency is very frequent. I mean, I don't know in Australia or India, but putting a child on the pedestal is as damaging as criticizing very harsh. So one has to be very moderate. But you can always tell the teacher, but I feel it has to be done the other way. What are your thoughts on it? Because at the end, the teacher also knows something. That's why he or she is a teacher, isn't it? So the criticism should be specific. It should be born out of a proper knowledge of music, and it has to be directed at the right person, making sure that there is no emotional injury, especially with regard to children. Because we have all seen the case of having bad professors in college or bad teachers in school and getting turned off a subject. You may like maths, the teacher is bad, you get turned maths for the rest of life.
Yeah.
அதே மாதிரி மியூசிக்லயும் கொஞ்சம் என்கரேஜ்மெண்ட் இருந்தது, மோட்டிவேஷன் இருந்தது. Criticism is good, yes. It should be there.
உங்களோட ஸ்டூடண்ட்ஸ் கிட்ட இருந்து நீங்க என்ன எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்றீங்க? என்னெல்லாம் எக்ஸ்பெக்ட் பண்றீங்க?
One is I expect to pay attention to the bass. Okay. So I am very strong proponent of Shruti Shuddhama irukana, Swaram Shuddhama irukana, Kekat inimiya irukana. This is and Tala kattu irukana. These are the 4 essentials which I expect any student, not from the first day, say after 3 or 4 months when they have seen approach. The second thing I expect the students is an attitude of honesty. What did you practice during the week? The answer is I sort of practiced, I kind of practiced, and I practiced for 20 minutes. Answer. I tell them, you have practiced or you have not practiced. Your answer should be black and white. That sort of honesty. Because if you're honest with yourself, you can trust with anybody. And if you're not honest, nobody will trust you. That's what I tell my students. Apart from that, good exercise practice panna and pay attention to the bass. I mean, I always tell them, whether it is me or your parents or Scott Morrison or Donald, Shruti iladik pudadu. Paada sonnaka ingeyadu. The first question you should ask is, where is the Shruti box? Second question you should ask is, who's putting the talam? I'm going to put talam, I'm going to sing at the speed. Because a lot of children have this habit, they start rattling or singing, it is, and this gives ground to criticism, both the teachers, and it creates the atmosphere. That should not be the case. So my expectation of students is pay attention to basics and be honest all the time.
What do you think about the future of Carnatic music? Your thoughts?
I think Carnatic music, I mean, it does have a bright future, yes. Because the corpus compositions available now is much greater than what was available, say, 50 years ago. And knowledge is widely available. Like I said, one song you can hear 10 different editions. The Sahityam is available. I mean, these things were not available when we were growing. For part of Sahityam, you had to go and cajole and flatter a lot of people just to get the raw Sahityam in the end. It will be handwritten on paper. But now everything is standard. So those facilities are there. But what I think should take is for Carnatic music, not just to survive, but to flourish, the what shall we say, the attitude of practice and perseverance. One part of it, I mean, you can get for 200 or 100 times, but stage level that love perfection should be there. I mean, this could be a controversial statement, but in some cases, I find that there is a tendency to emphasize quantity more than quality. Quality can come only if you have, practice hard and long. It shows up in the final performance. Quantity is here nor there. I mean, what is quantity? You can have a book full of kriti and be a failure in one of them. So, but rendu part kuda or swarajati vaashchaka kuda or geetham vaashchaka kuda kachidama irukana, cake inmaya irukana, and people should say that perfection. This attitude, I think, is maybe it's a bit archaic. and maybe a bit middle-aged and anachronic. But it is something that's sorely needed.
Okay.
This approach, yes.
Yeah. Message to the community, to the music
Thank
lovers.
you for tolerating in your midst. I think all the musicians and the audience here are tremendously encouraging and very supportive. And like I said, I have learned a lot from everyone. So I used to joke with my wife, oh, Vijayadashmi vanda ke yaarku namba guru dakshin kudukkradhu athana per namakku appdinu solluva. That's what I would like to. I mean, the community has been extremely supportive. And when I was in the Middle East for 10 years, I lost all contact with music, Carnatic. When I came here to Sydney, yes, there's a lot of engagement, a lot of variety, and slowly, I just came back into the groove.
Thank you so much, Balaji, for spending your time with us and sharing your, musical journey and all that knowledge. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome, guys. It was nice talking to you.
Nice talking to you as well. Thank you.
When I was working, I got the opportunity to learn from Sri J. Venkatraman and Trichyla. For a short while, I was learning from him also. He was very good, he's very famous for his Kanakku. He then came to Sydney afterwards.
Okay.
In 1980, we got married in 1980 and came here straight away. வந்தோடனே அந்த டைம்லலாம் இங்க கர்நாடிக் மியூசிக் அப்படின்னு ஒண்ணுமே கிடையாது. We used to crave to see an Indian face அந்த டைம்ல எல்லாம். ரொம்ப கஷ்டமா இருந்தது இனிஷியல் ஸ்டேஜஸ்ல. இட் வாஸ் வெரி டிஃபிகல்ட் வித்வுட் மியூசிக். மோட்டிவேட்டிங்கா அப்படி ஒன்றும் இருந்ததில்லை.